Happy November. Uh yeah. So here I am. It's yeah, I missed October. I missed well, it does feel like I missed October in some ways. I you know, Halloween, I missed the Halloween episode. And for that I apologize. Hambo's had a lot going on. Um a whole lot going on these days. And let's see here. I'm rolling live. But yeah, I've had a little thing called jury duty, kids. I was a juror. And that's all I can say about that. uh, they get you. Life gets you. And what can I say? Um, but I think I gave you 4 episodes in October. That's something to chew on. You know, this is going up on my YouTube on Mustang 7. You're gonna get some new content here. Hope to make this entertaining as much as I can. Um, let's talk audio. Specifically, let's talk HP problems on laptops using mics like this. Um, HP sucks. They can't get their um, they just can't get it together. If I'm on YouTube, I don't know. I don't know if I got cut that out, whatever. But that's the thing. I'm doing this on YouTube as well as live. So anyway, I've been sick. Yeah, I just tried recording this session with my Yeti, my Blue Yeti, and it's not letting me. It's not even letting me switch microphones on my laptop on the menu and on the bottom taskbar. So I'm sorry when things get that complicated and they just don't want to cooperate after you plug something in. It's like, look, this is slowing the process down, and it's messing up my whole momentum of recording, and that's why I record on my iPhone. You know, a lot of the time because it's just simple. It gets right to the point. You know, the audio sounds good enough and we just get right to it. When I try to get all fancy with the microphone, more times than not, it just slows the process and makes things a big pain in the butt. Even going on this website, um, I got to type in all these things before I can even start the live cast. So I don't know. It's pretty annoying, but we need to move on. We need to. You just have to record, okay? And I have not recorded the last few days because I've been sick. I've been sick, and it just takes you out of the game. Jury duty and being sick, uh, celebrating a family birthday. It's too much. It's just too much. So to pull back, I'd rather give you some material that's interesting to listen to as opposed to having to force one out. That felt like I was just doing a task. You know, I don't want to do that. So hopefully I sound good enough here. I think I do. I'm looking at this microphone's just all over the place. um, yeah, I am drinking my. What's the name of this stuff? This is pretty good stuff here. This equate equate immune support in the tablet form. You plop it in a glass, and it gives you that immunity, the diplomatic immunity that you need. So happy Halloween. I wanted to do something kind of special. There's always pressure to do some kind of special Halloween episode. Same with the Christmas one. Didn't happen this year, although I did watch The Hand, which I think I did a commentary. I'm going to go back and check. I might have done a commentary track with Sir Michael Caine. But yeah, actually, I still might do a little like I want to call it Halloween in November, because I do have marathons. I've done that before. I've watched scary movies in November because I just haven't. I didn't get a chance to catch on to watching scary movies in October. Too many dumb little things come up, and before you know it, it's Halloween. So I make up for that usually the month after. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching, for putting up with my little frustration here. I'm going to try to stop saying as much as I can. So I'm watching myself. There might be some pauses in this one. And some drinking pauses. I'm going to go over some things, and one of them has to do with my grading system, my movie grading system. Since I always do a 1 to 10 scale, I broke it down into 1 to 10. What that's all about, how I dissect a movie, and all that. And I found it kind of fascinating to write the process out. And yeah, I'm also going to be talking. Is going to be the first part of my Bond marathon, since I've bought all the Sean Connery Bonds, and they've re-released the James Bond series as the collections, and so they'll have like a 3-disc system, 3 movies in one case, and then another 3 movies in another case, and that'll cover the whole run of Connery, or that'll cover the whole run of Roger Moore, and so on and so forth. The only one they don't have is what's his name? See, I'm saying them a lot. The only one they don't have is the George Lazenby, which is just 1 movie, and the Timothy Dalton, where he did 2 movies. So I'm going to have to go hunt those down on my own. These are all part of the James Bond Ultimate Collection, which they released, I believe, in the late 90s, early 2000s, which was always awesome. They had a whole bunch of bonus material on them. But I never bought it because it's a lot. It's a big collection of DVDs. You got to haul it all over the place. Again, I have a lot of DVDs. It's a lot I'm trying to cut back on and be picky about the DVDs I buy now, just because I just don't have, they're like comic books. They just start to take up too much room. So I'm real picky about that. I've thrown out DVD boxes that aren't very special. They're just generic DVD boxes and nothing. If they're like a collector's edition of the DVD, I'll hold on to it and keep the DVD in there. So yeah, I'm buying these collections. They shouldn't take up too much room in the portable. So you got 3 or 4 movies in one case, small slender case. It's pretty awesome. It's the way to do it. First movie I'm gonna go over is first movie in the Bond series, Dr. No. Dr. No, and I could do commentaries of these movies, but the fact is, they have the main guys. Either they have the writer of the Bond movies, director of the Bond movies, or they'll have the actor. I don't think they got Connery to do any of his, which would have been awesome. But they got Roger Moore to do the commentary tracks of his movies. So I'm not going to top Roger Moore. I'm not going to top the writers. I'm not going to top the directors. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to do this as a series, maybe later down the road. Maybe if there's a demand, if you guys want me to do my own, to do the commentary tracks of each Bond, I will. But until I hear from you guys and the demand is there, I'm just going to cover these in my episodes as part of the marathon. So Dr. No, it opens up. You don't have the flashy. You do have some silhouetted dancing, but it they haven't ironed out the beginning montages of the whole. They're really developing the formula still, and they have a bunch of dots, colored dots, which No Time to Die was trying to emulate all the different dots and everything on the screen. And again, it's just one of the movies that it's set in Jamaica, so it's got like a reggae kind of backbeat and everything. And but one of the things I noticed is how they introduce Bond. They talk about Bond and everything. They lead up to it, and how they introduce him. He's in like this little gambling hut or kind of semi casino there, and this woman starts talking to him across the table, and I don't even think it's an over the shoulder shot. I don't even remember seeing it, but maybe it would be treated like that. And she says, "Mr." I forgot what she says. Yada 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 yada. What do you think, Mr. Bond? She goes, "Mr." And then he says, "Cut to Connery smoking," and with some complaints of cards, and he goes, "Bond, James Bond." And it's just a neat intro because you don't see him for the first 5 minutes of the movie. They kind of lead up to him. I'm going to briefly go over some of the things. Of course, there's a lot of exposition in this movie. There's some action scenes. Nothing too crazy. Flips a guy over his shoulder, and he meets the guy, a Jamaican guy, and he tells him, "Oh, there's something going on of this island. There's a dragon." Of course, this dragon is spoilers, by the way, if you haven't seen his spoilers. Is a mechanized kind of sub ship dragon, and that's kind of a neat, even if it's a little hokey. It's kind of neat. It's kind of like a Hound of the Baskervilles kind of scenario, but yeah, where people think it's a certain supernatural thing, but it's really somebody messed around with it, made it up. But Ursula Andrews, I think I said that right. She is in this. Looks great. Of course, she's gorgeous, and he meets up with her at the island, and yeah, there's just kind of there's talking, and then there's something happens, there's a fight, and then there's something happens. One of the things I noticed is the beer in this. They use Red Stripe beer in the background, which is funny. You don't see a lot of advertising for alcohol really that much in movies anymore. Not necessarily, but Red Stripe. So it's funny. And this recently, I watched a video of somebody, like a clip of some girl drinking Red Stripe. I'm like, that's it. Maybe that's the official alcohol of James Bond is Red Stripe. But anyway, he takes on this guy who is known to, I don't know, rough people up or kill people or something like that. And he's Asian, or he's half Asian, and he has an arm, or not an arm, a hand at least, that is like a mechanic robotic hand that he can crush things with it. And he also has a layer that that Bond and Ursula, they go to that, and he shows them, his gigantic aquarium with gigantic fish. And Bond talks about, he's like, I wonder how much something like this would cost. And Dr. No chimes in. He says, $1 million, Mr. Bond. Like, there we go. There's a lot of Austin Powers. You could tell this is where he got a lot of the things for the setup. The hazmat suits look like cartoons, and they have the plastic things going around their head that you can see through. And yeah, there's a few fights. They play the Bond theme like crazy, like even when you don't really need to. It's like the fast pace, the dun 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 dun, like that's playing in the background, and but nothing really action oriented is happening. They're just kind of playing it. So they didn't really perfect when to play that and when not to. They're just kind of throwing it out because they like that theme song so much. But no, I mean you could tell straight away. Connery he's in command of the character. He's confident. He knows what he has to do. And you meet M for the first time, and this is him before he chews out Bond, becomes that kind of guy. So he's kind of setting up that the quest for him, or the mission, I should say. And this was neat. I noted this that Bond used a Beretta, at least in this movie series. And he said, "I'd never mess with my Beretta." But he said, "Well, we're going to have to give you something more," to paraphrase, subtle and spy-like. So they give him the Walter PPK, and with a silencer. And I thought that was kind of neat. That was the beginning of the Walter PPK whole. He'll have that the rest of the series, so that's cool. So there's some neat beginning stuff here, and Felix. We meet Felix for the first time. He's the guy from Hawaii 5-0. He's got some silly shades, 60s shades that look like the shades that a lot of girls wear now, like the big insect kind of shades. Felix will be played by different actors. It almost gets comical down the road how many different Felixes there are throughout the whole series. But yeah, I'm kind of jumping all over the place because the plot is just kind of it's linear. It gets the job done. It kind of goes from point A to point B to point C, and nothing really jumps out except for some of the fight scenes, some of the cinematography, like when they introduce Bond. That's cool. Of course, there's a car chase, and that's done with some blue screen or a film projector in the background. Probably before blue screen. So yeah, it's done. It cuts back and forth from the practical chase to the projected background chase, and it's a car chase, and it does the job, and the car goes over the cliff. That's the one that's after him. And it's a good stunt, and yeah. So that's not much all I can say. He ends up beating up Dr. No. Dr. No goes into the water, and the fight scene's not really that long. Of course, Dr. No tries to hold on to a metal column, but he can't hold on because his hand just slipping metal. He can't get a good grip metal on metal. So that was a memorable part. But it's neat because it's definitely the genesis of the rest of the films. He has a hat in it. He wears a hat in the opening walking where you see a side profile, and then he turns and shoots, the audience or whatever, the camera. I think in the next one, they keep that for a while. Like the next one, he's going to have the hat on too. I don't know which one he officially has the hat off, but I'm going to say maybe Goldfinger or maybe Thunderball. One of those two, he takes the hat off in the beginning there. We definitely have the first scene with Moneypenny where he goes into the office and he throws the hat on top of the hat hanger there. So that was the first time he did that. That was pretty cool. And there's the yeah. So there's a lot of first time neat stuff going on in this, and there's there is a tarantula that gets put into his bed, and it's crawling across his whole body, and he's like, there's a close up of him kind of sweating and shaking, and he finally gets it off him, and he throws it the spider off the bed, and he takes his shoe and he just beats the hell out of this spider. I thought it was kind of funny, just because it's like, yeah, the thing was so slow. It's like, man, you could just get a shoebox and like throw it outside, but but why would you want? It makes sense. You want to. It's a dangerous spider. You got to kill it. You just throw it out. It might come back and get you again. So I don't know. It just kind of stands out too. But I don't know. It's a good movie, but it's a little slow. There's a lot of exposition. They could have milked Dr. No a little bit more. He's only in it the last 20 minutes. Um, but his layer is cool. It's well done, and there's some good pivotal scenes with Bond. It's a good setup for how the rest of the series is. How it starts to lay out some things. Not It doesn't lay out everything, but some trademark things. Some of the more trademark things come later, like uh, in the next one, From Russia with Love and Goldfinger, which is probably one of my favorite Bonds. So that's Doctor No. Doctor No, as far as Bond goes, and I'm going to use this loosely. I give it an 8 out of 10. It's good. It's not perfect, but it's good to kind of set the tone. This is a neat character. He's in control. Um, and he goes on a special mission. He's got somebody he reports to, and it's a pinnacle. It's a trade. The villain has trademark things like some kind of weird uh, body thing or some kind of eccentricity about him, and a beautiful woman, and a few different beautiful women are in this movie. So yeah, so there you go, Doctor No, 8 out of 10. That's the first one, and that'll transition into my grading system. Let me talk to you about the grading system. And let's see here. Any listeners out there, tell me how I sound. If I sound too loud, let me know, and I'll try to make some adjustments. Drinking that Equate immune support. Nothing like it. Now, if I just had a little bit of alcohol with it, it'll destroy the whole purpose of it. Okay, so I'm going to go to my grading system, and I wrote this down. I thought this was funny. So I'll make it interesting. I'll start at 10 first. Start at 10 first. And when I grade a movie, a 10 is an extreme rarity. Most movies don't fall in the 10 range. Some do. Some I feel are pretty much flawless. 10. I will watch this movie multiple times during my life for inspiration. A real rarity. Movies like this are not just Academy Award winners. They can very much be a genre film. Some of the films I consider 10s are movies like Rocky, Goodfellas, Raging Bull. Those are Academy Award winners. Let me tell you ones that aren't. Conan the Barbarian. Lethal Weapon. I want to say Lethal Weapon 2. Die Hard. These are movies that I can't find anything else I can nitpick about, and I watched them multiple times over my lifetime for inspiration. To me, I consider The Last Boy Scout a 10 movie, even though that would definitely be argued against with some people. But to me, the dialogue is so awesome in that and so funny, and I mean everything is just on the ball with that movie. But yeah, you could find a few things that where they could do it better, but that's probably a more biased 10. So those movies are rare when they happen, but they do happen. The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, 10 movie. Very little I can nitpick with that one. Probably same with Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more. They succeed perfectly in their genre. Um, 9. These were what a lot of movies fall under. Um, but still, they're kind of a rarity too, especially these days. 9. I'll watch this movie multiple times. It's hard for a movie to get to this level. Great actors doing their thing for a good or serviceable plot. Serviceable plot. So the plot could be flawed or slightly confusing, convol- uh, convoluted, but the actors showed up. They showed up to play, and there's some stellar performances in this. Or it could be the other way. Amazing plot story. The characters were kind of more secondary, but it's got a very strong story to it. Um, Movies that would fall into a 9 for me. Uh, hmm. There's so many. There's some some of the classics I considered either a 10 or a biased 10, but nines. Hmm. Can I say nines? Yeah. See, I'm kind of defaulting into tens because I'm thinking Raiders of the Lost Ark is a 10. I'm thinking Citizen Kane is a 10. Um, Nines. Gosh, I wish I had my movies in front of me. So yeah, see, I'm even thinking of Goldfinger. Goldfinger is a for its genre, I think it's a 10. But there's a lot of Bond movies that are nines. Um, Even more that of them are eights. I'm trying to think of another Bond movie that's a 9. Uh, so probably I would go with Thunderball. Thunderball's a 9, out of 10 for me. Some people would say, well, that's a 10 in you know, in its genre. But I like Thunderball, but it's not like the best one to me. I don't think it's as good as Goldfinger. Trying to think what else. Movies that aren't Bond movies. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. That's almost a biased 10 because I've seen it so many times. But that's a 9. I'd say that's a good example of a 9 where to me that's a pretty good movie for its genre. In for as it ticks all the boxes for Indiana Jones, but it's not as good as Raiders. It's not quite that status. Um, Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade is 9. That's on even almost a 10. That's pretty damn good too. So that's kind of questionable. That's on the border there. Yeah, because it's like it's really good, but it's not as Not as good as Raiders, but it's really good. Um, Trying to think other movies. See, now when I'm forced to think about movies on the spot, uh, there is a lot of bias with me. That's a good one. I'm thinking Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I'm looking at my Michael Caine book here. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, acting in film, of course. If you have not read Michael Caine's Sir Michael Caine's book, acting in film, you better get right on that. It's fantastic. Even if you're not an actor or an aspiring actor in any way, it's a fascinating read. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I give that a 9. That's almost a 10 movie because it's a famous movie, great performances. Um, but that could be probably a biased 10 for a lot of people. So yeah, I'm kind of touching the fact on 10s here, but you get the point. It's pretty much how I described it. 8. Let's move on to 8. Whole heck of a lot of movies are 8s. Whole heck of a lot of them are on Netflix. They're good movies. Couple things they could do better, but they're good movies. You know, you don't feel like your time is wasted. You might watch some of these. You might watch more than once. Some of these you watch it once and you got it. Uh, I think like a lot of like courtroom drama movies that are 8s and Academy Award winners that are 8s that I'll only watch once and that's it. They're not necessarily rewatchable, but there are some rewatchable 8 movies. A good movie, good story, uh, good story, good actor or actors. Some minor things could make it even better. Might only have one boring scene or a so-so performance. A lot of movies fall under this one these days. Ah, the one I just recently watched on TV again is Now You See Me. The one with the magicians. Uh, that might almost be a 7 movie because there's so much CG. It's an entertaining movie. It's the one with Woody Harrelson, Isla Fisher, um, Michael Caine's in it, Morgan Freeman's in it, where there are a bunch of magicians that are trying to go after somebody, or somebody screwed them over, or they're trying to get somebody out of trouble or something like that. See, the plot's not really that strong. But it's a fun movie. You just go if you want some escapism. It could be even a 7. Is probably not the best example of an 8. Uh, what other 8 movies are there? I mean, you can go and watch some movies like probably this new one with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. I could see that being an 8 movie where it's good, it's serviceable, it's entertaining. But there's some things they could do better. I wish I had my movie library in front of me, but I'm just so. I'd say. Hmm, as far as action movies, I'd say okay. Say take like as far as genre movies, Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Maybe Cyborg would be an 8, where it's like they could have done some things more interesting or better with this. Um, but it's still entertaining. There's still some good scenes. Um, you know, I know, and I'm pulling these B movies out of the woodwork. This isn't the best example. Anyway, I can't think of much else right now, so I'm falling back on the ones I like. But you get the picture. A 7. This is a flawed film, and I got a perfect one for this. This is a flawed film, but salvageable on some level. I really lean into that. Some movies you have to lean into it. A flawed film, but salvageable on some level. Has some fun scenes, or an actor really delivers in an okay movie. There's a lot of these days. Again, Netflix. I'm looking at you. Um, Prime. I'm looking at you a little bit there. Uh, Case in point, and this might some people might even say this could be a six. The movie Van Helsing, to me, is a seven. For others, it's a six or lower. Van Helsing was flawed because the over reliance on CG. Uh, Van Helsing didn't have a Dutch accent or any kind of accent necessarily. It was a very modern accent. It took me out of it a little bit. There's too many gadgets that went beyond believability for the time, and yeah, so those are the things that kind of worked against it. Um, yeah, and there might have been some story problems with it too, but to me the biggest drawback was the getting away from practical stunts, practical makeup, practical everything. I mean, almost everything was CG. It just seemed so incredibly blue screened at the time. Um, it's ridiculous. But some of the ideas are neat, and it's cool to have Frankenstein and the Wolfman and Dracula all in the same movie. That's cool. And Hugh Jackman, gave it his all, and they're trying to make that kind of like a neat new action adventure thing. So I commend them for that. But yeah, that's where we'll leave that. I mean, I can go to maybe I'll do a commentary of Van Helsing one of these days. Six, moving along. Six. This is a bad film. Might have one good performance or scene. The rest could be thrown out into the garbage. uh, Someone might like it, just not me. Just not me. Quite a few of those. A lot of those, to me, are your dramas. There's a lot of dramas that are like that are boring. That might have one good standout scene or quirky character. A lot of kind of cheap sci-fi movies. A lot of action movies. And there you go. 5. This is a terrible film. Still, there might be one thing that makes me glance at it. A hot actress, a neat or certain look to it, all surfacey stuff. Uh, an otherwise good director, maybe John McTiernan. I think John McTiernan did. He did. I think he did a remake of Rollerball. And again, the look of it was kind of neat, but everything else just wasn't there. Just performances, the story, it was just didn't work for some reason. 4. It Has Begun. Terrible, terrible movie with barely anything of note. Things don't make sense or add up. The aesthetic is not pleasing to the eye. The actors are bland. No memorable lines. F this movie. Somebody still might like this schlock for bizarre, superficial reasons. uh, and one man's garbage, schlock. All right, we know a lot of movies, a lot of B movie schlock, but there's a lot of good B movie stuff. Again, you can have a 10 out of 10 schlock movie for its thing, for its genre. Just because the masses don't like B movies schlock But as far as B movie schlock, you could have a 10 out of 10 on your hands. Three, it's come down to this, hasn't it? This is pure SEHHHIT. It won't help anybody, but it won't hurt anybody. It'll show people what not to do. That is its purpose. That's when a movie's a three. Okay. You can still learn from a three movie through its terribleness. And that's how you know that that is what's bad and how to make good over that. Okay. Two, an aberration. I'm so put off by this movie. I can't even look at the cover. Even the cover is awful. Completely passionless. By the numbers, they're just trying to get through it and get a paycheck. Shouldn't even be shown on TV. Okay, so a lot of those. We're getting a little rare. It's getting a little rarer to get to a two. An aberration. Shouldn't be on TV. Completely passionless. Bad cover. But they're out there. Again, we're getting a little bit more rare. A lot of stuff you see these days is watchable for a certain amount of time. And then you either have to change the channel, go to another movie or show. Number one, 1 out of 10. This is it. Holds an almost mystical status as being a black hole of films. It takes away from the world and gives nothing. People are worse for having watched it. Not sure how many I've seen, but pretty sure most filmophiles have seen at least one of them in their lifetime. Extremely rare. Extremely rare, a one. Takes away from the world. Gives nothing. So there you go. That's my whole system from 1 to 10, 10 to 1. There's a lot of 8s out there being produced. There's some 7s. There's some 6 movies. 6 and 7 movies can be argued whether it's like a little bit more garbage than the other rating. 5, once you get to 5, it's bad. Okay, it's only a matter of degrees. How bad is it? Again, it can be bad, but have some things that you like about it. Like, oh, I like that actress. I like that actor. That was a good line. But the rest of it's complete, utter garbage. You know, or you just have it on in the background. Maybe there's a song in there you like. Just have it on. You don't mind having it on in the background. It's not the worst thing to have in the background. Again, it's not taking away from anything. It's not really giving you anything either, but it's not taking away at least. 4, it's like, yeah, when you get to 4, it's like, yeah, now you're ticking me off a bit. Now you're getting annoying with this. And then 3, and it's like, just get it off. Get off. You know, anything to change the channel. And then 2. And 1. And 1, you should seek out the filmmakers and scold them. Okay. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. I wanted to get that out there, and maybe we'll talk about comics. I'll go into that a little bit before I go. I might get Sir Michael Caine back to start reading chapters in acting in film, because I think it's a great book. Unfortunately, my copy got a little wet, but it's still readable. Still I'm ticked off I got wet. But I think this would be fun to have him read it. It's good. I recommend every actor that I or any of my friends that are pursuing acting, either on my films or not, to read this book. It's so awesome. Acting in film, I love it. Good read. Uh, I'm going to do this because I haven't read in a while a book from or a chapter from David Paulides, Missing 411. I'm going to leave you guys with a Missing 411 story. Um, hopefully, I didn't read this in the last one I did. Let's see here. So some of these are just one pagers. There's a lot. They're just like only a couple paragraphs, but I'll read one. This is from the Missing 411 Eastern United States. It says Merrill Newcombe, George Whedon. So both these guys went missing in 1959, October 29th. So it's fitting that was just October. So that kind of ties in. You can see that. You can't. Oh, there you go. You can see him a little bit older gentleman from the late 50s. Refer to the Whedon narrative for details of Mr. Newcombe. George Whedon and Merrill Newcombe were at a hunting lodge that was owned and operated by Mr. Newcombe. They were hunting near the lodge when they failed to return from an outing on October 29th, 1959. They were never seen again. They were last seen between mile marker 106 and 107 of the CPR line. George Whedon was an individual that was never going to walk or hike long distances. In 1941, George had been seriously injured in a train accident in which he sustained a broken back and debilitating injuries to his right leg. George Whedon had a very difficult time walking any long distances. One of the largest provincial, I don't know if I'm saying that right, searches during the 1960s was conducted for these two men. There was a second search in the spring of 1960 after the snowmelt occurred, with searchers never finding one clue about what happened to the two men. And this is where it gets interesting. Case summary. The case of Whedon and Newcombe is highly unusual, very frustrating, and doesn't make much sense. The men were at a remote hunting lodge owned by Newcombe. These were seasoned outdoorsmen who were not going to walk far from their vehicle. They were staying close to the truck because of Whedon's injuries. Both men were undoubtedly armed because they are hunting. The men would not have been attacked by a bear. Bears have been hibernating in late October. Both men were hunting in the Crown Game Preserve, known for its outstanding variety of birds and mammals. The Ojibwe First Nations tribe lives in the middle of this area and knows the variety of game that it offers. They have the freedom to hunt the area at times when others cannot. The weather in this area would have been very cold, snowy, and difficult to walk in. People would never hike long distances at this time of year in the area. The law enforcement officials conducted an extensive search in the spring after the pair disappeared and after the snow had melted, and still could not locate the men. It may be plausible for one man to disappear in this region in late October. How two men disappear baffles my common sense approach to search and rescue. So there you go. Merrill Newcombe, George Whedon. Pretty strange. Pretty strange. I'm looking forward to getting his book on in Montana or on Montana, and always worth the price. You can go to his one website, Can-Am Missing Project, I believe I think it's a .com, and get it to the books off his website, $24.95 plus shipping. Don't go to Amazon. They're scamming people by charging $100 per book. Putting the word out there. When you're done with this book, review it, because he's getting review bombed, probably from scammers, something like that. They're all worth the money and excellent, well-researched books. Give them 4 stars. And with that, I will say long days and pleasant nights. This is 1st October pod here. I'm looking at getting 4,000 downloads. That's my goal, 4,000 downloads for the year, by the end of the year. Let's make it happen. I'm going to start putting in the work. Looking at 3 in November, doing 3 pods in November. As always, my email is screamingeagles7@gmail.com. Feel free to drop me an email about what topics you'd like to see covered, as long as it's in the entertainment business. It could be entertainment, paranormal. I stick to comic books. I stick to movies. Those are the big, heavy hitters. And but I'm going to wrap this one up. Again, I apologize for not having a Halloween special. I might make up for that. My Halloween in November. It's a lot. November is a big month for me. I got my birthday. I got my brother's birthday. I got a lot going on. We got Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's just a lot happening in November. So I'm still gonna put, even if it's a late night pod, I'll put one out, a short one, 5 to 10 minutes. But I need to start putting out a little bit more, and I'll probably start recording on the phone a little bit more, because the microphone issues with HP and Yeti. So everyone have long days and pleasant nights.